the very first thing is going to be installing Python and talking a little bit about um, the different ways you can install Python and how, you know, how, what is a programming language, the basic stuff like that. We're going to be installing a text editor, a VS Code. You can install whatever editor you want. I might introduce a couple of them. We're going to talk a little bit about virtual machines. Some people told me last stream that they asked me if I was going to cover Kali Linux or how to install like Linux in general. So what I end up doing was I downloaded VirtualBox and Kali Linux, and we're going to just be firing up Kali Linux really easily because we're going to be working with Python in general as well. So and we're going to be doing a lot of things in Linux, so I think it would be a good thing to just show a Linux installation. Then we're going to talk a little bit about interpreters and compilers, what's the difference, where does Python fall into this world. We're going to do our first Hello World program, then introduce some Python stuff. Now the voice suddenly got fixed. Interesting. Okay. So, let's start by going into here. Now, the simplest way to install Python is just to go to python.org. And you have downloads, you click there, install Python, right? And then it starts installing. And then you click on it, and I'm an idiot because why do I have window capture again? And then this shows up. Of course, I already installed it, right? But what you would do is you just go with a normal install. You know what? I'm going to uninstall it and install it again just so you guys can see. It's a really easy process, but you know, for some reason, people like to see it, so why not? Computer's being a bit slow, isn't it? Meanwhile, there are other ways to install Python, and this is what I'm going to talk about in a bit. Well, now actually. There's Anaconda, which is more of a package manager than just Python. So it's not just Python. It's a little bit heavier to install. It's a little bit heavier. Takes a little longer to install, but it adds a lot of functionality, and it's really good for people, especially data scientists and people who want to go into that area. And I'll talk about it in a bit. There's also Miniconda, which is the same thing as Anaconda, except it's a stripped down version. It's lighter. It only has the minimum stuff. And you can download it in pretty much the same way. Just download it and go through the whole process. We're going to be working with Python right now, but we might go into one of these at some point if we do other things. Because what these allow you to do is they are also a package manager. So they also manage your packages very nicely in the sense that if you're doing, let's say, data science and you're working with certain libraries, I know you might not understand this yet, but you will in the future. I'm just trying to introduce it a bit. If you're working with multiple libraries, right, you're going to have to download them to install them, I mean. And let's say that you're doing a project that requires a specific version of a library, but that version isn't compatible with the library you had. Or it's only compatible with a specific version of another library. This just allows you to take care of all of that very neatly, very easily with one command, which is really, really good. And of course allows multiple environments with different versions of Python, and we're going to get into that in a bit as well. For now, we're just going to stick with this, and again, let's install it. Oops, there we go. You should be seeing this on screen right now. Just be sure, and Kali Python is already installed. Yes, it should be. So I would click here on add Python 3.9 to path, and we'll see what that does in a minute, but it's really useful. and it's really what you are going to be doing anyway. So there's that. Although I'm actually not sure if on Kali Linux, because I haven't used Kali in a very long. Like actually, I tried Kali Linux before, but I think I've only used a backtrack, which was basically Kali, but before it was Kali. Um, so I'm not sure if it has Python 3 installed or Python 2. Um, Python has a lot of versions. If you come up over here and see full list of downloads, you'll see a lot of different versions of Python. You'll also see the maintenance status, and you'll see that, bug fix, security, end of life. This guy's dead. Python 2.7 is dead, but it's still used in some scenarios, and it's usually still pre-installed in Linux. So I don't know if this is the version installed or if it's Python 3 or more. These are not, Python 2 is not recommended anymore. It hasn't been supported for quite some time, and it's just obsolete. So that's why we're going with Python 3.9. So as you can see, that installation was pretty easy. Now, because you added it to path, what you can do right now is you can go into your command prompt. If you don't know how to do that, click on start, type cmd, enter, or Windows key plus R, cmd, or you can use PowerShell, whatever you prefer. But I'm assuming if you're here, you know how to open the command prompt, right? And you can just type in Python, and this should drop you right into the Python interactive shell. Now, and this is how you know your Python is well installed. And as you can see here, Python 3.9.0. Now, what you did when you click on Add to Path was, if you come up over here to Properties, Advanced System Settings, and Environment Variables, you added it into here, into Path. As in, you can see, you have here, blah, blah, Python 3.9 scripts and Python 3.39. I'm assuming you're familiar with what this is. But basically, when you are in your command prompt, right, and you type something, let's say executable. Now this is going to be searched in your current directory, and it's going to try to check if you have something with this name. And it's going to check into here as well. And it's going to check all of these folders. Now, we have Python installed in this folder. So if we copy this and we went to it, you can see that this is actually the Python where the installation went. So it's where it's installed, and you can see python.exe here. So when we type Python, it's going to look up right here. Is Python in this thing? No, it's not. Is it here? Yes, it is. So it executes that right here. That's basically it. We only see the browser. Oh my god. I'm an idiot. Of course you only see the browser. Oops. My bad. I wanted to put window capture. Sorry. Where is it? Display capture. Oh, I'm an idiot. This is what I wanted to do from the start. And of course, going to a different thingy. See, this is why it's good to have chat. I'm pretty sure if I was just doing this video myself, that I would never like find out until after I was done. Okay. So again, let's restart, right? Okay. So now that it's installed, you can open up your terminal, or click here, type cmd, and you can open up a terminal, and you can type in Python. Now right here, this drops you into the Python interactive shell, and this is how you know Python is correctly installed. And as I said before, the reason it drops you into this Python shell when you type this is because right here in your environment variables, you have a variable called path, and this was the option that you selected when you selected add to path, and it added these two directories into path. Now, these directories are going to be searched for the name of the executable that you typed in here. So it's going to go to each of those directories and see if you have Python. Now this one of those directories is where Python is installed. So that's why you're opening this executable right here. So that's why you add it to path, so you can just open up command prompt and type Python and have it. You exit it by tapping quit, by the way. I'm mainly listening. Oh, it's fine. And I should probably have a way to check chat without breaking the whole thing. Anyway, so this is Python installation. It's pretty straightforward. We're going to look at how to set all of this up in a minute. Now I wanted to go back to my little plan, and we're going to okay, that's good enough. Now we have Python. We needed a text editor, right? So VS Code. By the way, I'm sorry if I'm not super how can I say this? I didn't really prepare a specific script, and I'm not very used to doing videos. Hopefully that will be improved. But if you have any questions, just type it there, and I hope that I will make them. Oh, oops. Yeah, of course. I hope that I will be able to make a better documentation for when the course is live. The course will be live at some point here. There will be another module, and hopefully it will explain things a bit better. And also, these videos are just more of a visual representation of the steps that I go through. And of course, for the Q&A as well, it's pretty important. Now, we downloaded a Visual Studio Code, and as you can see, you can download it for Linux, for Mac OS, or for Windows. Then, when you install it, it's pretty easy installation. Just click Next on anything. Should I disable path length limit? You don't really need to, but you can. That's one of those things that, you don't actually need to. But you can certainly do it. You got to have it. It's space Vim also good. Well, anything that a text editor. I have no idea what space Vim is. I've never used it before. But yeah, I'm guessing it is good. Okay. In terms of a text editor, I recommend VS Code if you have no other text editor, or if you've never used one, or if you don't know what text editor to use, basically. If you already have a text editor you're comfortable with, be that Vim, be that Sublime Text, or anything else, you should go with that. For all of you who are starting out, who don't know which editors you want, or, I would recommend VS Code, but you can also check out Sublime Text. A lot of people like it. Meh. You can do PyCharm, but PyCharm is a bit more of a full-featured IDE for Python, more than a simple text editor for all languages. The reason why I love VS Code is because you can make it kind of like an IDE for many languages, but it's still a simple and somewhat lightweight text editor that you can do multiple languages in, and it's reconfigure it in many different ways. And it's open source, of course. Hey. Notepad++ for potato users. I heard Atom is also good. Atom is good, yeah. Atom is nice. I used Atom a lot. To be honest, I do prefer VS Code a little bit more. I used to prefer Atom before. But I don't know. I have a much more pleasant experience with VS Code because you can basically do the exact same things and you can customize it in very similar ways. I like my experience better in VS Code, but Atom is certainly pretty good, and you can do a lot of things with Atom. Basically the same things. Also, by the way, if you do install VS Code, I would recommend adding, when you're doing your installation, just doing your next, right? And there will be an option for you to choose to check two boxes, right? There are a total of 4 or 5 boxes, I don't remember, but 2 of those boxes I always recommend checking, which is add VS Code, add open with VS Code. I think there are 2 because one is open with folder, one is like open for the folder, and one is open for the file. But that's really useful because you can come up here into any folder and just open the folder with code, or into any text file and open it with code. Just makes it a lot more efficient, if I can say that. And Notepad++ is pretty good, actually. I do use it a lot because it's just super lightweight. For the purpose of just looking at code and maybe changing 1 or 2 things, it's perfect. If you don't need all the additional fluff. So there's that. So we talked a little bit about text editors. Let's talk a bit about virtual machines. And by the way, I can go back to any topics if you guys want. I'm trying to breeze through it a little bit because I noticed yesterday that this is going to be a long-ass series, right? We're going to do Python, we're going to do C, we're going to do assembly, we're going to do reverse engineering afterwards. So this is going to take some time, so I'm trying to breeze through Python a little bit, especially through the introductory parts, because a lot of the people who are interested in this course and in C and assembly and reverse engineering, a lot of those people already know quite a bit about computers in a way. So, a lot of people are not going to struggle with how to open the command prompt and stuff like that. So that's why I'm, talking a bit faster on some topics here. So let's go into VirtualBox. So a virtual machine is essentially just a regular machine, but it's emulated, and you can basically boot up any operating system you want with it and still use your own operating system. It's just going to be, oh, I already downloaded this, but anyway, you download this, and VirtualBox is completely free. I prefer VMware. I use it on my main computers because, well, you can do a lot of more complex things with VMware Workstation, and a lot of things are just more efficient. But VirtualBox is perfect for a free version of the same kind of software. Let's install it, shall we? I need to have like some kind of a toggle so that I don't I should also put this here. I need to have, oops. Okay. I need to have some kind of a toggle so that I don't always sorry. Show like a whole Inception screen when I'm looking at chat. Anyway, oh yes, you're right. I completely forgot about that. You kind of also want to get the extension pack. So just click on it, and we'll load it up as soon as this is done. So now we have VirtualBox. Let's pin it down here because we're going to be using it. This is VirtualBox. You can also open up the extension pack, and it's going to ask if you want to install. You do. There we go. Okay. So at this point, we need an operating system to boot up, right? And that's where any Linux operating system will come in handy. So what you can do is, well, this takes us directly to the download page. This is Kali Linux. Also, it doesn't matter what you get. You can get Ubuntu right there. Is there a way to change the language on this thing? Here's the real problem with this. This is in Czech, right? And I know what buttons to click because it's kind of obvious, but I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to change languages because I'm pretty sure that... Oh, okay. I was not expecting that. I was expecting it to go into... whatever. So downloads, Ubuntu desktop. You can just download whatever you want, of course. LTS for long-term support. Or on Kali Linux, you have ISOs, but you also have your VirtualBox and VMware's images, which obviously are recommended if you're using a virtual machine. Change to com? Yeah. No, because a lot of websites do not take that, which is a problem. They just prefer to redirect you because why not? So here we have the VMware images, here we have the VirtualBox images. The difference between these two regular images, like the ones you download here, so if you download this, I'm not going to go through with it because obviously I have potato internet, right? But you would notice that this would be an ISO file, so a .iso file. And when you download this, when you download this, you realize it's an OVA file. Now, an OVA file allows you to come up over here and import appliance. And you can come up over here and import it. Boom. Now it shows you a lot of the current settings. We're gonna tweak this at some point. Let's agree. Now it's gonna take a while. I agree. But yeah, it's really tough when you're in a website that is not in English and it's actually in a language you don't speak. That's the very worst thing about it, is when it's in a language you don't speak. Meanwhile, let's talk about this is a completely different topic. We'll see. Okay, you know what? What is it called? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's put VirtualBox here. So, it's finished importing. If you come up over here to settings, you will check. You can't see settings, can you? You see, this is what I don't like about this way of doing things. But I kind of also don't want to. Oops. Okay. So, here in settings, we can see the system settings. So we have the memory that you are giving to the system. Now, 2 gigabytes is perfectly fine. You can give more or less if you want to. Just make sure you don't give too much because there is such thing as a too much. Processors, you can use 2 or 1. This is not a system that actually really requires a lot from your computer. So do keep in mind, if you enable 3D acceleration, you do kind of want this to be pretty high up. Now the only thing is that this is, oh, I guess it doesn't actually matter that much since that's plenty. Okay, 80 gigs is more, yeah, okay. I guess we don't really need to do anything. Okay. Maybe we would like to rename this a bit to our Kali Linux. Okay. Let's start it up, shall we? So I click on start, and now I should, wrong one, there we go. I should have it right here, start it up. Now keep in mind that this should come with, oh my god, I'm running into some errors on the other thing, sorry about it. Okay, so here we are. Let's type in the password. What was it? Root tour? Oh, did they change that? They changed that, didn't they? Wait. Oh, it's Kali Kali now. Wait, it's not root anymore? Oh, wow, that is different. Okay. I had no idea. Huh, interesting. Wasn't aware that they had changed that. Anyway, you can actually full screen it if you want from this point on. You have the virtual guest editions on. Actually, I'm not going to full screen it because I don't want to be sizing too much. Okay, there we go. Because this allows me to see chat as well, so this is pretty good. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can go into okay. I'm an idiot. I wanted to do the other thing, not this thing. But I'm pretty sure, oh my god. I'm pretty sure I can just do that. Okay. I don't know, it feels more at home working in root for Kali, to be honest. Anyway, so let's just check if we have Python. We do, this is Python 2.7. We should also have Python 3, 3.8.4. Okay, that's good enough. So yeah, the only thing you have to keep in mind, also, I'm pretty sure Ubuntu also comes with Python. By the way, if it does not come with Python 3 and only comes with Python 2, you can always do something like that, right? And it will install Python 3. Already installed though. Also, you might also want to get Python 3 pip. This will be used for downloading some packages, and we'll see that in a minute. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, we have successfully booted up Kali Linux. Now, wow, this does look quite interesting. Like, it looks better than before. It used to be way crappier. Huh. Used to be way crappier. And of course, you can also install it here, by the way. Just get your .dat file and you're good to go. How are we doing on this front? Okay, I'm just checking the messages, see if I got anything. Oh, can you guys see? Can you guys? Okay. No, this is not what I wanted to do, by the way. Wait. Sorry, I have a lot of windows open and I'm trying to figure out where my VS Code on Windows is, so we can do this in a different way. Okay. 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 So I'm just marking these as one. Sorry. 2, 3. Okay. So we're good. And now where's my Linux? Is here. You guys can still see it, right? Yeah, you can. Perfect. Okay. So where was that file that we just downloaded? Probably in downloads, right? It's not in downloads? Seriously? Where is it? Am I an idiot? Is it not here? Oh, did I not save it? It seems like I am an idiot. Oh, that was not oops. Oops. This is not the correct key. Downloads. Oh, it is here. Although that's not... Huh. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to... You clicked open. I did? Oh, okay. I'm an idiot. Okay, so let's install it again, and let's not click open. Oh yeah, I did click open, you're right. So let's save it. And at some point, we should receive this here. Oh, there we go. Just wait for it to be done. Okay. Okay, yeah. Is there still the part? There's no part. Okay. So right now we're going to install this. What was the name? It's just going to sudo. I'm sorry. Into root. What was here? Oh, it's not here. Downloads. There we go. Oops. Yes, that does make sense. Wait. Why does this not work? And by the way, this is a very oops. This is a very important. Where is it? This is a very important thing as well, is realizing like errors and stuff like that. Okay, so let's think about why that might not work. Let's try to do that. This works. Okay, I was sure that with the app I could do that. Oh well. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I need a flag or something for... I don't know. Is it a different flag? I have no idea. Maybe it just doesn't do that by default. Hey, maybe you guys can tell me. Where is the window here? Here it is. Nope. Here it is. Okay. Don't say anything. Anyway. This should take a while. Let's do something else meanwhile. I've been live for quite some time now, but a lot of the time is just going to be waiting. I might cut a few things for YouTube because a lot of the things that I'm doing is just waiting for things to finish. Oh well. Is it done yet? Nope, not done yet. Meanwhile, we can... Okay, no one here. Meanwhile, we can probably talk briefly about interpreters and compilers, for example. That sounds like a good thing to talk about. So, today, obviously, we're talking about Python. So, what is a programming language? Why do we need it? Etc. So, obviously, a computer runs code, and the thing is, a computer doesn't really understand what you're typing. A computer understands machine code, essentially, right? A computer understands binary information. And when you're coding, of course, you're not coding in binary or, you know, because you technically could. Okay, you technically could program in binary or directly in hex if you want to make your life a little bit easier, but no one does that because that is extremely stupid. You will take a million years to code something incredibly simple. So what people do is there are compilers, and compilers will translate code into, well, they will translate code into a low-level language. Oh, I think it's done. It's done. I don't need a sudo, but I'm just going to check if there are any dependencies that we're not having. Okay, we should actually have it already all good, I believe. So set this as done. Okay. Okay, seems good. And by the way, I don't want to leave the idea behind. So we're just briefly talking about the compiler, right? And I'll just give you a little example, which is better than just explaining it to you. In any way, a compiler just translate your code into a different language. And, well, that's kind of the general definition of a compiler, right? Is when you transcribe code from one language to another, which is usually a lower level language. In this case, we want to we want to translate our code into language that a computer can understand. In this case, we translate it into machine language. And we're going to talk about that a lot more in depth when we go into C. But this does have GCC, of course it does. Let's look at it from a different perspective. So, by the way, Nano is a text editor that is pretty user-friendly. You can use Vim as well because I believe that Vim is installed by default here. But there's if you don't like Vim for some reason, you always have Nano. It's a pretty simple text editor for the command line. Let's just make a little program where I'm going to, what I'm going to do, hello world. Now, I do understand that this program is going to have, it's going to give me some warnings because I didn't include the standard library, but it does it. I don't need to for the purpose of this demonstration. This prints hello world, right? Now, of course, this is our code, but the computer doesn't understand that, right? So of course, we have the GCC compile that program, and now we end up with, if we try to, I'm going to use nano to show some differences. If we try to check what this is, well, you can't understand this, right? Because this is a binary, right? You can understand some characters, elf. It's an elf binary. It's an elf 64-bit, blah, blah. So this is basically what it does. Now, there are some differences between that and an interpreter, of course. Let me look at chat for a minute. Okay. So the compiler will be useful for languages that, for example, like C and C++, that are compiled directly into machine code. Languages like Python, for example, are not, especially the implementation we're about to use, which is the popular implementation of Python. Python does not work like this. Python does not directly translate the code that you write into machine language. Instead, the code is converted into bytecode, into Python bytecode, which is kind of like an intermediate language, and then those instructions are going to be interpreted by the Python interpreter. The Python interpreter is going to execute those instructions in its own virtual machine, and it's being interpreted as the program is going along. So you don't compile it into a binary. Instead, there is a Python virtual machine that executes your code. That's essentially it. We're going to go a lot more in depth into this when we go into C, because then we can get we can have a lot more knowledge to look at a lot of other things that I'm trying not to introduce here. So that is done. So let's do what people are probably here for, which is the Python hello world. So in Python, hello world is the simplest thing you can possibly imagine. And to do that, we need to set up our environment first. So we already installed code. In Linux, if you want to run code, just, oops, okay, fine. Just type code and it will open. And I'm going to proceed in Windows because I don't want to have a virtual machine open right now. But you can do the same thing. I just wanted to show the process of opening a virtual machine and using a virtual machine. So let's change this now. So the browser is shown. The browser is shown. Okay, and goodbye. Okay. Actually, I didn't want the browser. Oh, my bad. I wanted display capture. Okay. So, what we're going to do right now to set up the whole environment for our first Hello World program is we're going to come over here and open folder. And you can just create a folder if you want. I just named it Python Fundamentals Module 1, and I'm going to be opening Module 1. And this is the file that's in it. And right now you can see this Module 1 thing. Right here is where your files are going to be, your folders. So in this case, actually I should probably open whatever, doesn't matter. Oops, this is the wrong one. I'm an idiot. And this is not also, okay, there we go. There we go, sorry. Anyway, so you see module 1, this is the first folder. and we're going to put a little file in this folder called hello world.py. Now in Python you have the .py extension. No Python interpreter is selected. We're going to go into that in a bit. The .py extension just tells, it is just the extension for a Python file. Like you have .txt for a text file. Okay. Now, you probably don't have an interpreter right now. You don't have anything selected. So what you do is you click on Select Python Interpreter, and you should see a lot of really things, a lot of interpreters. And you just select the one you have. Actually, you should only see one, this one. It's going to ask you, linter pylon is not installed. You can click Install. I recommend clicking Install. This is going to be pretty useful, and I'm going to be demonstrating this. By the way, if you don't see this, try exiting VS Code, entering again, making sure that the Python folder is in path, because if it's not, it's obviously not going to find it. So Pylon is installed. Now, I do have a couple of settings on my VS Code, and I'm going to show you those in a bit. But the first thing you should do is you should come down here to Extensions, and click on Python and install this. Okay? And wait. Okay, show chat. Oh my god. Hey there. I'm not seeing this chat for some reason. I'm good, thank you. Is there any chat right now? I hope there isn't, because I haven't been looking at it. Anyway, you should install the Python extension. And by the way, the Python extension might actually be required for you to even see the install linter pop up here. But in any case, we'll take a look at how to do that, even if you don't have those pop-ups. But please do install the Python interpreter, the Python extension. This is going to give you linting. It's going to give you formatting. It's going to give you everything. It's really essential for Python. Nothing else is really essential, but I always recommend having better comments. This is really useful later on, not now, but later on this will be useful. I have the Anaconda extension pack as well, but you don't really need that quite yet. And I have the Python docstring generator. This is pretty useful. I like it. I recommend you having it for the future. I'm going to show you how it works in a bit in a future video, but we will definitely play around with those. But after that, you can select your Python interpreter right here, or Control-Shift-P is the command palette. And from here, you can do a lot of things. So if you don't have an interpreter, you can type interpreter, and you see here Python select interpreter. You click there, you select the interpreter. Format. Wait, actually I don't want this now. Let's do linting. Python select linter. And here you can select flake8, pylint. So I would select pylint, and if it says it's not installed, now you click install. Formatter output is not installed. Now, the reason this appears is because in my settings, so let's go hop over here to our settings, to our JSON settings right here. And I have a lot of stuff, okay? Actually, I don't have a lot of stuff. This is all done. It's predefined when you start the code runner execution map. Only thing I really changed was this. This is the only thing I changed, but other than that, everything is default almost. One thing that I recommend having is this right here. Editor that format on save, true. So, by the way, let me show you how this looks. When you're typing, this is really good because when you start typing it, you have all the suggestions here. So, format here, format on save, and then you have this little icon here. You can just type true, but if you don't know what it takes, you have this little icon here edit, and it tells you either true or false. In this case, I'm setting it to true. Oh, true. There we go. Now you save it. Now, what this is going to do is when you save a file, so Control S or file save, it's going to try to format it. And I'll show you what that means in a bit. So if you type Control S right now, it's going to tell me formatter is not installed. So install it? Yeah, why not? Oh well. Now it seems like it's installed. Now let me show you what each of these things do, okay? I'm going to type a few things that you might not know what they are quite yet. But, you know, I'm just trying to show you the functionality of the formatter. Okay, so right now, you click here on right next to the Python interpreter, and you can see problems, output, debug console, and terminal. Now we're not going to really use the debug console or the terminal or the output for that matter, but here problems. Now there is a standard for I'll talk about that in a bit. There are a couple of things that you can always improve in a program. Maybe it's a big program and you have things that you changed and you forgot to change something else, and maybe some things are not used or some things is just going to be wrong. So the linter will help you by looking through your code and trying to figure out things that might be wrong or you did that you didn't want to do, or that can be removed. In this case, it tells me unused variable 3 times because I'm declaring these variables. Don't worry about all of this. I'm gonna tell you all about it in the future, but I'm not using them, right? So it's useless. Having it here or not having is useless. So it gives me a warning. If I delete all of this and I save, there are no problems anymore. Now you noticed how this formatted in a different way. If you didn't notice, I'll show you. So let's say I do this, and now I click Control S. It automatically puts this in a different format, in the proper format. So there's a thing, PEP8, style guide for Python code. And you can read all of this here. And it's basically a standardized way to write code. So that everyone has code that follows the same style, so that it's just familiar and easy to read code from multiple people or in the same project that have multiple people working on it, so you don't have a lot of different styles in the same project, because that can be pretty confusing and can lead to some problems as well. So the AutoPEP8, which is the other thing we installed, is responsible for formatting. And since we set here format on save, every time we save it, it's going to format it. So this is one of the things that it does. It just makes it standardized according to PEP8 style guide. That's pretty much it. Now, how do we print hello world? Well, hello world is the easiest thing in Python. You type print hello world. Now, we're going to look a little bit at what functions are and all of that, but print is a function. And every time you type a function and you want to call a function, so you want to make it happen, you use these parentheses, open and close. Inside of these parentheses is going to be what the arguments are. We'll look at it in the future as well. But right now, I just wanted to be able to print hello world into the screen, and this is how you do it. So how do we run this now? Well, let's go into document. You know what? I can just do this. Reveal in Explorer. We can go, oops, here. Oops, here. Sorry, my bad. We can go into here and type, and go into Open PowerShell here. If you don't have this, you shift right click and and it should say Open PowerShell window here. for example. Okay, so at this point, and by the way, mine. Okay, by the way, my PowerShell my PowerShell says base here because I am um, I'm using Conda, well, Anaconda. Well, actually it's Mini Conda, but I'll deactivate so that it's the same thing for you. So Python, it should be the one I installed right here. Perfect. 3.9.0, the same one right there. So quit. And we're going to look at the interactive shell in a minute. But the way you run a file is just by typing Python space and the name of the file. In this case, it's called helloworld.py. By the way, if you click tab, of course, it's going to do a tab out at completion, and it's going to complete the word for you. Then you just click enter, and there you go, hello world. You can print a bunch of things, and there we go. So this is how you print hello world in Python. Now, what things should I talk about now? And keep in mind, I'm going to cover this in a much more organized way when in the documents. This is more just like a visual guide of going through the processes and stuff like that. No, this isn't it. This is it. So we did this. Okay. So before we go into functions and all of that, because it's important to just understand a little bit about Python before going into a lot of those things. We're going to jump into the Python shell. So the Python is the Python shell is a pretty handy tool. When you just type Python, you enter into the interactive shell, which is basically running every single line of code. You know that right now I ran the Hello World program, and it ran it, and it closed. Well, the interactive shell is basically interactive Python. So you run anything in here, and it will run. So for example, 1 plus 2, it runs, and it's 3. And by the way, if you do 1 plus 2 here, oops, that was the correct one anyway. It will run, it just won't print anything, right? Because you would need print to make it visible. There we go, 3. So why am I not using this one anyway? So this is really useful if you want to test some things, or just for trying things out interactively, so you don't have to run a full program or make changes to a full program. So let's try a couple of things here. So if we do print hello world in here, it will print it. If we do this, it will print it too, kinda. So essentially, it's always going to give you back what you inputted. So let's say we do this, it's going to show you that object. So this is useful. Well, it's not that useful, but it's good to know so that you don't need to print anything, every single thing that you do. Anyway, in here is where we're going to talk a little bit about data types, and we're going to talk into a little bit of maths and stuff like that. So as you can see, we already were able to do some mathematics. So we were able to do 1 plus 2. We can do 1 minus 2. We can do all sorts of different mathematical behaviors. And we're working with numbers, obviously, right? But there are many different kinds of data types in here. And in Python, well, these data types will be classes, and we're going to look at it in the future. But you can check the type of something by the command type, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and whatever you want to put it in there. So let's say 1. Well, it's an int. It's an int because it's an integer. So the different kind of data types, and by the way, you can easily check this out by going to here, data types Python, and for example, right here, it should give you a list Uh, I don't like this list. This list is a bit better because I can see it in a better way. So, for example, this tells you all the well, not all actually, but a lot of the ones that exist, and it's a really good thing for you to be able to just quickly Google something like this, because sometimes you'll forget some properties about something in a specific programming language, and you can really easily get the documentation for that. Also, you can get you can go directly into the Python documentation, but a lot of the times this will have a lot of things that you don't really need. But if you do need some deeper information about specific things, you should go here. It's a really good reference. So as you can see, we have the int, which is a positive, which is short for integer, which is a positive or negative whole number. We have a float, which is a floating point, which is a fractional component. Okay, fine. So it has decimal cases. You have complex, of course. You have bool, none. So let's give you a little example of each of these. So we saw 1 was an integer, right? So how about 0.1? This is a float. It has decimal cases. Important to note that you can do things like this, right? You can use scientific notation here. You can use other kinds of notations, like 5 point is 5.0. And note that for integers, and this is pretty important to understand, because you might be led to believe otherwise. There's also built-in terminal in VS Code. Yes, it is. There is. There is. That is true. But why not? So in VS Code, you do have a terminal. Someone's calling me. Sorry. You do have a terminal right here. And you can use Python here, and you can do the same thing we're doing. I don't know. I don't like the terminal being stashed in here. For some reason, I just don't. I don't prefer it. So I'm showing it here, but you can totally use a terminal if you want to. In any case, so yeah, we have integers and floats, and something important to understand. Integers can be any length as long as you have enough memory for it. There's really no limit for the length that an integer can have. But for example, a float, there is a limit. So, you can have 1 times 10 to the raised to the 100th, right? You can do that. But you can't do this. This is classified as INF, which is infinite, right? So the way this works, we're going to look at it a lot more in depth when we go into C and data types, because then we can actually explain what 64-bit double precision really means and stuff like that. But just note that there's a limit. For example, if you go past 1 times 10 to the 308, so you see, if you do this, it still works. If you go 309, it doesn't work anymore. It's infinite. So anything past here is infinite. The same thing goes the other way. So 1 times 10 to the negative 323 is still outputs, but anything an order of magnitude above this is going to be 0. All right, there's just no more precision after this. So it's just important to realize these things. There are some limits to some of the things that we do. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, the data types, of course. So we have this. Of course, we have strings as well. Strings are defined with double quotations or single quotations. Basically, any kind of quotations that you put with text here. So if we do this, this is a string. str is short for string. I trust this. Click. What happened to it? Wait, what does that mean? I'm clueless right now. Okay. Anyway, let's go back here and here. So we have obviously strings, and those strings is basically anything you would classify as text. And don't forget that there's a bit more to these types, and we're going to cover this. I'm just trying to be a bit basic on here because in here because it will confuse a lot of people if we introduce this in different ways. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I want to introduce it. And now let's talk about some other types. So we already saw in the website that we had bool and we had none, for example, here. Oh, there's complex too. So if you want to define a complex, you can do, I don't know, 2 plus 5j. This will be a complex, and if you do type of this, you'll find that it's complex, right? Anyhow, there is of course Boolean and none. Now none, so is defined as this, of course. It's the null data type. There's really not much to it, much more to it than that. Bool, on the other hand, is a Boolean, so it's either true or false. So a Boolean only has two values, either 1 or 0, true or false, right? So if I say, and the Boolean is going to be extremely important because a lot of the things we're going to look at will have a Boolean representation or a Boolean evaluation. And we'll understand what that really means probably next time. Actually, no, today we'll understand what that really means. But just putting it out there. Now, there are also sequence types, and this is going to be listed right here. And mapping types, we're not going to be doing mapping types or actually sequence types except for strings that we already kind of did. Let's exit outside of here and jump into our code. So, to understand other kinds of variables, other kinds of types, I'm going to show you a variable declaration. And I know this might seem a bit jumbled, but I think it's actually going to help you understand a bit if we do it in this particular order. Although I might have a different order when I write the document for better clarity. So let's say that you have a variable a, which equals hello world. Now, what really is a variable? A variable is just, think about it as a container. Think about it as a container that has whatever you specify it as, right? So in this case, A is our container, and it has hello world. And this is how you do assignment for variables. You just say A equals something or B equals something, and now A is the variable that has what you want, or what you set it to. Now, we learned about the print function. So let's use the print function. And remember when we used to do print hello world, we did this, but now we have a variable called A. So we don't need to type hello world, we can say A. Now notice I didn't put quotations around A because A is not a string. The quotations are used to mark a string. A is a variable, so it doesn't need anything, just A. So if we run this, we notice it prints out hello world, right? Now, Python is dynamically typed, so you don't actually have to specify the type of the variable ahead of time because it's just going to figure it out by itself. And this is a good feature and also a bad feature, but we'll be looking at why it could be a bad feature in the future. But this means that you can do b equals 2, well, set 2, c equals 0.5. So I can now print A, print B, and print C. Oops. There you go. And notice it print hello world, printed 2, printed 0.5. These are all different types. So if we do print type A, print type B, and print type C, string, integer, and float. These are all different types, and we did the print. Now, the print is a function that takes arguments, right? Arguments, we're going to look at a bit more into it when we take a look at how to declare functions, but essentially, a function is basically kind of like a subroutine. So it's a piece of code. So let's say that we have here, let's say that this is a function. Okay, you know what? Should I do that right now? Whatever, why not? Don't pay too much attention to the function, the declaration. We're going to take care of this later, but I just wanted to show you more or less the idea of a function. So a function is basically just a piece of code. So this blah is like code. So like code 1, code 2, code 3, and let's say I wanted to call that function, right? So in this case, let's pretend that this is the print function, because we kind of already went on with that. When you call this, it's going to figure out, oh, where is this function declared? And it's going to execute all the code that is inside of the function. And then it's just going to return back to where it was. Right? So it's just a little jump into the function and then return back, and performing whatever code was in the function. This allows you to have a lot of functions that you can reuse. So in this case, the print function would look like do some code to print x, and we would pass in x. Inside of these parentheses is where you declare the arguments that you're taking in for the function. So if you have x here and you do something here, so let's say 0.5, when this starts being executed, it will say, well, x is what was supplied here, so x is 0.5. So do some code to print 0.5. That's really all there is to it. But we're going to be looking at this in the future, so don't worry if you don't really get this right now. It's not really the point. The point for right now is to tell you kind of why you put variables inside of the parentheses in the functions here. But you can have multiple arguments for print. So we noticed that if you put print A, it prints A. But what if you put print A, comma B? Right? You actually print two things, hello world and 2, on the same line. So you can actually print A, B, and C. Hello world, 2, and 0.5. So you can print everything with these commas. D, E, F if you have those, right? And notice that it's always going to add a little space and then the other variable. We didn't specify any spaces. Now, what else can we actually do? We're going to talk a little bit about formatted strings in a bit, but for now we know how we can print stuff, and we know some data types. So let's put this down as done for now. And some math. We did some math, but definitely not enough. So if you type Python operators, actually it's a good practice for you guys to see this as well. This is going to be a lot more in depth than you really need. By the way, this is yeah, as you can see, it's way more in depth than you would need. When this is more than enough. There we go. This is a good enough table for right now. So we saw that we can do plus and we can do minus, right? Let's jump into our interactive shell again. because interactive shell is just easier to test some fast code. So we understand that we can do 2 plus 1, and we can do 2 minus 1. Now how do we do multiplication? If you come back here, you see there's a little star, multiply. So you can do 5 times 2, that's 10. Perfect. Divide. Okay, we can do 6 divided by 2, that's 3. Perfect. And notice that this is a 3.0, so this, so it's a float. If we do this, it's still going to be a float. This is still an integer. So when you perform division, it gets it gets automatically put into a float. But we can do this. Now we have a couple of weird ones. So we have the percent, the double slash, and the double star. The percent is the modulus, so it will give you the remainder of something. So let's say 6 modulus 2 is 0, because 6 divided by 2, the remainder is 0. But if you do, say, 6 modulus 3, it's still 0, because 6 divided by 3 is still 0. If you do 4, however, it's going to give you the remainder of that, which is going to be 2. Right? And if you, so 6 divided by 4, so 1 times 4 equals 4, 6 minus 4 equals 2. So this is the remainder, and this, oh god. I always forget what the name in English of that is, whatever, but this is the remainder, right? And that's 2. And so on and so forth. Now, the kind of the opposite of that, it would be the floor division. So if you do 6 by 4, this will give 1. This will give the other side of it, right? The whole into whole number adjusted to the left. Okay, this is a different way of looking at this, but sure. Right, so if you have 7 divided by 4, this is still 1 divided by, oh, damn it, by 3, this is 2. Again, let's open up a little paint. So if you have your division, right, and you have 7 divided by 3, the first thing you do is 2, that's 6. Oops. Minus 6, that's 1. So you see here 2, that's the floor division. And if you do 7 modulus 3, it should give you 1, because that's the remainder, right? Perfect. Now, you also have the double star. The double star is raised to the power. So let's say 2 raised to the power of 3. So that should be 8. Perfect. Right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Pretty easy. Now, these are arithmetic operators, but this should, yeah, there we go. We also have comparison operators. So we can do things like 3 greater than 4. And this is where the thing that I was talking about before of expressions being evaluated as booleans, as either true or false, kind of comes into play. So if we do this, we'll see it's false, because 3 is not bigger than 4. So when we use comparison operators, the result will be a boolean value, right? So if you do type 3 less than 4, this is class bool. This is going to be a boolean value. It's either true or false. So you have 2 bigger than 3, nope. 2 smaller than 3, yes. Perfect. So we have bigger than, we have smaller than. We can do 2 bigger or equal to 2, which guess it's true. But if you take the equal, it's false. Same thing for 2 smaller or equal to 3, or to 2. Right, perfect. Now, I don't know what I'm doing. I want to go into the shell again. We have the equalities and the inequalities as well, right? So we can also check, as you can see here, with double equals and the not equals, I guess. You can check if something is equal to something else. So let's say 3 equals to 3. That is true. 3 equals 2? Nope. And by the way, the reason it's not 1 equals is because, remember when I was telling you here about when you do 1 equals, that is assignment, right? So if you do A equals 2, actually let's do it here. So if you do A equals 2, you're saying that you're assigning A to 2. you're creating a variable called a that is equal to 2. But if you say a double equals to 2, you are checking if a is 2, which in this case is true. But if a was 3, and you did a equals 2, it will be false, right? And the same thing exists for not equals to, which is the exclamation mark and equals. So is a not equal to? Yeah, it's true because a is 3, right? Okay. This sounds pretty easy. Yeah, there we go. Kind of what's saying here too. Now there are of course also logical operators, and they're going to be bitwise operators. We're not going to go into this right now. The logical operators are pretty much what you see here, and or not, right? What you can do, for example, let's say b equals to 5. So now we can do a double equals 2, and that is false because it's not equal to 2. But if we say 3, it's equal to 3. Perfect. What if we want to check this and b equals to 5? Now this was false because I put 4 instead of 5, but if I put 5, it says true. And this evaluates if this is true and this is true. Now you can also use or, which will evaluate if this or this is equal to is true. If you put 4 here, this will still evaluate to true because this one is true. Now if both of these are false is when this is going to be false. And you have a not, which is basically not b, for example, or not b equals this. And this is going to be true. Let's say this. This is still going to be true because b equals 4 is going to be false, and not is going to negate that, so this is going to be true. So you can do all sorts of cool things with this. Oh, I have to go now. Thanks for the knowledge. We'll watch the rest of you on YouTube. Thank you. You have a good time. I should try to be a bit faster with these videos, but you have a nice evening. Okay, let's what else do I need to talk about still? Okay, so some math. We did some maths and operators. We did this. So now you should be able to do a lot of simple mathematics. Now I put in here ask for input because a lot of people like to start out with stuff like this. We took a look at the print function, but there are other functions that we can look at. You're welcome. There is another function called input. This function, well, you'll see exactly what it does. You can pass it a string, just like print. However, this will wait for your input. So let's run it. So see, welcome, say something. And now it's waiting for you to type something. And will only exit if you click enter. Now nothing happens because we didn't say anything, but because we didn't continue the code. So what is this for? Of course, when you type something, you want your code to be able to get what you just typed. How do you do this? Well, you assign a variable to this. So you can say a equals input say something. In this case, it still doesn't do anything because we don't do anything with a. But a holds the value that comes from here. So let's just print a. Oops. Welcome, say something. Hello there. There we go. Hello there was printed here. Perfect. Now, let's ask for something like, what is your name? And now I'm going to do welcome. Yeah, now I kind of wanted to put the name, but let's say welcome A. Because this is kind of what we realized. So you know that we can put more than one thing in the print command, and we also know that it adds a space. so you don't need to add a space there. So when this executes, it says, welcome, what is your name? I can say my name is Mario, and it's going to say, welcome Mario. Perfect, this is amazing. And this is kind of what we have been doing here. And it's awesome. Now, there are better ways to represent this, and I'm going to tell you, a pretty versatile way to do this. There is something called a formatted string. Strings can have different prefixes, right? You can have B for bytes, you can have R for a raw string, you can have you can have a lot of different kinds of strings. Oops. Oh God. Oh, F. F is a formatted string. What F does, by the way, if you do B, it just tells you, it just makes it so that everything that's inside of here is byte encoded. It's a type bytes. So a little, and that's another type, by the way. Sorry, I forgot that. So let's say A equals hello, right? If you say A, it's just going to say hello. But what if you say bytes A? Oops. Yeah, of course, this makes sense. It's better to do it this way. It's going to tell you B, hello, because this is we're dealing with bytes, obviously. So this is the way to represent your data as bytes. What other ways are there to represent data? Well, there are multiple ways. Right now we're going to use F for a formatted string. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's going to allow us to put these little brackets in your text. And these brackets can just have any variable name or any expression. This is not going to be printed as is. You're going to run code inside of this. So you can just say 8, for example. This will be the exact same thing. So Mario, welcome Mario. The same thing. Now notice that we can do all sorts of things. You can do mathematics in here. Welcome 4. You can do all sorts of expressions inside of here. You can call functions from here, right? You can do this, and what this should do is welcome. Oops, what did I do? Oh, yeah, I'm an idiot. I should introduce that too, by the way. And this should output welcome none, because it returns nothing, and we're going to look at this in the future, but still. And by the way, of course you cannot, what happens if you want to print a quote, right? So let's say that right now you want to print our name, but with quotation marks. You can add single quotes, and that will work. So Mario, welcome Mario. But if you add double quotes, this is not going to work, right? And well, yeah, it's already going to give you a little error here in the problem section, and it's just not going to run, because remember, strings are inside of quotation marks, right? But what this sees right here is start of quotation mark, end of quotation mark. So this is a string. This I don't know what it is, but this is another string, right? You know what I mean? So it doesn't know what this is. It thinks these are two strings instead of a string within a string. So the way we can do this is we can escape strings. So when we're inside of this of the string, if we want to use characters that are special characters or have a meaning, you can escape them. You escape them by using a backslash. So a backslash is going to escape them by and make them be represented as normal text. So when we do this, you're just going to have your double quotation marks. Also, if you want to escape a backslash, because again, a backslash is a special character because it's an escape character. If you want to escape a backslash, you just do 2 backslashes, right? There we go. Now there are other things you can do with backslashes. Let's you can do, for example, \n, and this is an escape sequence for a new line. So when you type something, it's going, notice this new line here, it's going to just basically click enter, right? It's going to output a new line. So if you do this 3 times, you're going to have 3 new lines that are empty, of course, because you didn't write to them. And there are other escape sequences as well. You can Google that. Python escape sequences, sequence list. Okay. And now you can see, by the way, the single quote, the double quote. Oh wow, there are a lot of things, right? There are a lot of escape sequences. And you can take a look at things like this as well. Okay, so there are other ways to format this, by the way, if you don't want to use a formatted string. I always use formatted strings, but this was introduced, I believe, in Python 3.6 or 3.7, one of those. Before that, there were no formatted strings. There were other ways to do it. I mean, you can also do the format. That doesn't really matter too much right now. There are other things you can do as well. You can also concatenate, so you can say welcome plus a. Now, this is going to be pretty interesting because when you do this, it's going to say welcome Mario. This one was the first one, by the way. The second one was this one, welcome Mario everything together, because there's no space. So you can add a space here, or if you want to make it more explicit, you add a space. Bit messy, to be honest. And let's say you wanted to say b equals 2, and let's just delete this, and let's say we want to print b, right? So it prints for the first one, welcome 2, but for the second one, it just gives an error because it cannot concatenate string into int, because you can't do this. You would have to do plus string b. Now it works, and the space. It gets pretty messy. Or you can do formatting, but it also is not as elegant or as simple as F formatted strings. It's just simpler, more elegant. So now that we've done this, let's introduce some conditionals here. So what have we learned so far? And again, if I'm going too fast, please tell me either here or in comment section if you end up watching this, so I can explain things a bit better. I'm trying to, you know, ooh. Thank you so much for the follow, Master Technologies. Thanks. Again, I'm trying to just go through this a bit faster so that, because you guys probably know a lot of this stuff, especially if you come from other programming languages, a lot of this stuff is the same concept, same idea. Now, let's introduce some conditionals, right? You want your code to do something. And of course, you can print things and you can do maths and execute stuff, but you obviously want to do things on certain conditions as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask for input. Let's say, what is your name? Okay. Now, of course, we have to declare this to a variable, so I'm going to say, what is your first name? I guess I don't need this. And first name equals. Now we're just going to start naming variables a bit better. So first name equals, what is your name? Print hello, hello first name. So again, it's the same thing we had before, right? So if we run this, what is, oh my god, I'm an idiot. This is what I meant, obviously, it's a function. What is your first name? Mario. Hello, Mario. Perfect. Now, we want to do something a bit better. And I'm going to introduce to you another built-in function called len. By the way, in VS Code, when you type a name of a function and it starts giving you suggestions, you can just click through them, you can use your arrow keys, and you can see what it does. Return the number of items in a container. Okay. So a string is basically a container of characters, right? So let's say I want to figure out the size of the container that contains the characters of my name. So the size of my name. We can do, let's print this, len first name. Remember, in parentheses, right? Also, this, we'll take care of that later. Anyway, by the way, this is a comment. It's the same thing as if it was not there. Let's just remove the confusion. So now if we type Mario, it just has 5. Because notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has 5 letters. So the container has 5. So that's what len does, right? Now, of course, if we just do len, it's still going to give you the size, but it's just not going to print it to you because you didn't ask for it. It's just getting it, right? But it's not doing anything with it. Now, if you print it, it's going to be printing it, right? So, blah has 4. Now, we can also say print, and now use our f-formatted string. Your name is, now let's use for len, first name, characters long, okay? So, Mario, your name is 5 characters long. Perfect. And we, hello everyone there. And right now we have pretty interesting behavior. But how about introducing some conditionals in here? So I want it to say, your name is super long if my name is over 6 characters. Actually, if it's over, let's say 10 characters. How do I do this? Well, introducing the if statement. Again, if you use your, no, actually it doesn't do that. Anyway, introducing if statements. This is our first conditional statement. So what you need to do is if plus a condition, and then you do a colon. And then when you click enter, you're just going to type something. Now, so far we have not been talking about indentation. So Python is an indentation-based language, which means it's different, which means this is different from this, which is different from this, which is different from this, which is different from this. Okay? We're going to talk about indentation and a little bit more when you talk about a scope of a function and scope in general. But essentially, what indentation does is it groups things in particular blocks. So right now I can say blah, blah 2, blah 3, blah 4. This doesn't mean anything, but you notice how everything here is indented? So right here, this is all indented on the same line. This all belongs to condition. However, this does not belong to condition. It's not on the same line, right? That's what indentation does. So when you say if condition, you want to have a condition here, and then you're going to have colon, and inside of here, so indentation inside of here, we're going to have everything that you want to run if the condition is met, right? So let's try this out. So let's say the condition right now is going to be len, first name, is greater or equal to 10. Remember our comparison stuff? Our operators? Okay. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to print your name is super long. Now, do note that they have to be on the same level. So if you do this, for example, and now we run this, so Mario, Mario with a lot of O's, the character is super long. This will run. However, if you have, and by the way, this is running, when you do this and you click Control S, I want to change this because, well, it's going to change the formatting to make it work. That's the whole issue. So if you do something like this, for example, it works. But if you do something like this, it doesn't do anything. It's just going to say unexpected indent because it's not on the same line. Everything on the same block should be on the same line. So if this still belongs to the same thing as this belongs to, it needs to be on the same line. Okay? It doesn't matter if it's 1 space or 2 spaces or 3 spaces or 4, but it has to be consistent on the same line. And that's why this is also pretty useful, because sometimes you will make a mistake or two, and this will fix it for you. So we have our first condition. We can already put a long thing, and it says your name is super long. But how can I do your name is super short if it's short? Well, we're going to introduce something called the elif. Now the elif, actually, well, let's introduce something else. I'm sorry, scratch that. The else. So the else needs to be on the same indentation as the if, and it doesn't require a condition. So it's just if something is blah blah, you do this, else. It's going to take all other cases and do something else. Your name is not super long. Right now, if I just say Mario, it says your name is not super long. So what this is doing is it's taking this and it's printing this. It's just going to check, right? It's going to take your first name. It's going to put whatever you introduced there into this variable, and then it checks, is this greater or equal to 10? If yes, just does this. If not, it does this, right? Super simple. If is done. This is just to show you that the if is going to be done, so it executes this. In this case, it executed this, and then it just prints this, right? And if it's longer than 10, it's still going to execute this, and then it's just going to jump into here. Okay, this is pretty easy so far, right? Now, let's say we want more conditions. We don't want just a catch-all condition with one condition. So what if we want to say that the name is incredibly short, if it's less than 4 characters? Well, this is where we go for an elif. An elif is basically another if condition inside of this, but it only executes if this is not true. So to put this in perspective, let's say Len, first name, is actually, let's say, greater or equal to 4. And let's say print, this is a normal name. Now, you'd expect this to work for anything that's greater or equal to 4, right? So let's say Mario. Mario is 5. This is a normal name. This didn't run. And it makes sense. Now, and it makes sense because it's not greater or equal to 10, right? Now, what if we did, sorry, I was going to do something before I tested the last thing. So let's say I do a lot of these things. It's just going to say your name is super long, right? And this is a bit unexpected if you're new to this, because obviously it's greater or equal to 10, so this is going to run. But it's also greater or equal to 4, but this did not run. And the reason this did not run is because of this elif. If we change this to an if, both of them will run. Your name is super long, and this is a normal name. So the difference is, if you have an if, it will execute the condition and check it. If you have another if, it will again execute this condition and check it. If you have an elif, it will only execute this if this is not true. This is essentially basically the same thing as saying else if something, right? But it's a way for you to add a lot of conditions without really needing to check all of them, right? It's just an efficient way to do that. In this case, I want to do this and say that this is a super short name, right? So right now what we have is, if we do something like this is a super short name. If we do something like this, it's not super long, okay. And we can do this, it's going to say it's super long. Okay, there we go. We have conditionals. Now, we have conditionals. And we're nearing our end right here, and I want to leave you guys an exercise, I guess. And this exercise is going to be pretty easy, and it's going to build up on what we just did. So our exercise is going to be create a program that asks the user for input the user how old he or she is, and then tells them okay, I'm thinking about this. I thought about a little like a bartender, sorry, like a disco bouncer kind of person, where like you would, yeah, actually, let's do this. Create a disco bouncer program that does the following. So, 1. Asks the user the year they were born in, tells them if they are too young or too old to enter the disco. Okay? This is a pretty easy thing to do, and I'm going for it in the next episode, but it's just a little exercise for you guys to practice this, and a little bit of mathematics as well as the if conditions. It's just going to build up on everything we kind of did. And yeah, that is pretty much it for the visual representation of things. This took quite a long time. I hope that it was kind of clear even through my mumbling and a lot of things that I did. Does anyone have any questions whatsoever at this point? If you'd like me to explain something a bit better, I could as well. But I've been trying to brush this, like to go through this a bit fast, because it's the very basics, and we have a lot of ground to cover. But for now, do you guys have any questions whatsoever? Now would be the time to speak. It was good. Maybe a next video, a bit bigger text if possible. Okay. Okay. Noted. Thank you. Next video. Bigger text. Okay. If possible, yeah. I gotcha. I gotcha. Perfect. Yeah, I'm looking at my own stream right now, and the text is not very big, to be honest. Okay, that is fair enough. Random Blather? Thank you for the follow. Really appreciate it. But everything else is good in my opinion. Thanks, okay. You know, it's quite interesting because when I'm recording videos, I used to teach, by the way, I used to teach a lot, and like in person, and it's a completely different experience. When I'm doing this in video, I don't get the direct feedback like you guys do talk, but it's different from being able to just see the reactions of people and just um and I tend to mumble a lot more. I watched my video once, and I one of my first videos that I ever made. I watched it again, and I kind of wanted to throw up there because because honestly, like I don't know, it I tend to mumble a lot more in videos like this, and to go a little bit off topic sometimes, and it I don't know, and I really do hate watching myself. Not only for that reason, but also for that reason. Nice, another security channel. Hey there. Oh, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. This is a pretty new channel. Um, and by the way, please don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, check out our Discord, check out our website, whitehathacking.tech. Um, it's everything is still under construction. The Discord is pretty good, by the way. It's okay. I mean, this is great and very learning. That is great. Also, the reason why I don't prepare scripts, well, there are two main reasons why I don't prepare scripts beforehand, which is why I tend to mumble a lot more. The first reason is because I don't actually have much time free. I have 30 to 40 minutes before the stream starts to put something together, um, and maybe 30 to 40 minutes afterwards. But I don't have much time free other than that, which is pretty limiting. But also because I think it's a pretty good experience for everyone to kind of see things being done live in a way. Because a lot of the channels that specifically that teach coding and that teach a lot of things related to security, they tend to have like everything prepared and just instantly everything is working perfectly, and that is fine. And the video is way shorter and a lot more to the point, but you don't get to experience the same things that they experience when there are problems, and that's really what I think really helps a lot of people, because I have problems, right? Like everyone, there are errors that happen. There are sometimes I'm running a program, I'm coding, and I make mistakes, and sometimes I think I'm doing something, but ends up I'm doing something else. And the live debugging and how I fix problems is also probably a good thing for some people, especially for beginners to see, because they can try to take that and use a similar strategy to solving their own problems when they have them. I don't script either. Oh, you do videos too? That's awesome. Let me check you out. Oh wow, you do have quite a lot more followers. Okay, I'm going to... Oh wow, I wasn't even signed in. Um, Wait a second. It won't not work anyway, but I just, I don't know. It always makes me, whatever. Awesome. Looks really cool. I'll definitely check this content out in a bit. Good to you today. Oh, thanks, dude. I really appreciate it. Maybe it's better for us to learn script to write from scratch. I'm not sure. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just it makes it a bit more interactive as well. I don't know. Yeah, this is kind of like the last portion, kind of like the Q&A part. I will I will be leaving in, let's say, well, let's say 13 minutes. So I do have time if someone wants to ask a question or anything of the matter of the sort. I can answer that. Meanwhile, let's see if there's anything else I'd like to talk about. Done. So bigger or suggestions as well. I would love those too. I'm pretty new to the whole thing, to the whole streaming thing. Well, not the streaming specifically, but to doing this specific things in streaming. I used to play Hearthstone, not on this channel, but I used to do Hearthstone, and my streams were not that amazing either, to be fair. But uh, is this your day job? No, well, not really. Um, so I do this. I have a Discord server with a lot of us, which is called White Hat Hacking Discord server, which you can check there down below. Um, I've seen you play HS with Fetzer. Oh damn, yeah. And uh, I do these videos kind of to help the Discord server a bit. I'm a malware analyst, and that is basically what I do. Um, I've done pen testing before, a couple of years ago, but basically, um, ever since I stopped with pen testing, I do malware analysis, and I thought it would be an interesting idea to do a little course on reverse engineering, but because a lot of people don't have all the basis for reverse engineering, I thought, why not just do something that introduces Python, C, assembly, and then touches into reverse engineering, so the people have some basics and some experience with programming before going in that area. I'm also a med student, which is also why I don't have a lot of time. Recommend books for C and reverse engineering. What about that giveaway? Yeah, the giveaway. So I want to do the giveaway for the merch. And by the way, if you don't know yet, you can check out the merch below, right here, merch. I want to do the giveaway. The problem with the giveaway is that I haven't received my shirt yet. And I want to receive my shirt before I do my giveaway. I want to make sure it's good. I want to make sure that I'm not giving away some crappy thing. Because I'm not taking care of the merch personally myself. It's Streamlabs. They do this. And I got my shirt. Already ordered it, and I'm trying to see if it gets here. Um, and if it gets here, I will show you off on stream, and I will do the giveaway. Books for C and reverse engineering. Well, for C, there is a book I always recommend. There we go. The C programming language. This is an amazing book. It is old. Okay, it is old, but it's kind of like the Bible of C. This is where I first started learning C from, and I love this. I love this as a book. What else did you for reverse engineering? Well, um, that's a good question. That is a good question. I didn't really learn it from books. I did learn assembly from books, and um, oh, I can't remember which ones though. But the thing is, oh, I remember. I got into assembly um, with this book a very long time ago. It's super old. I got into assembly and C with this book, and the other one I just showed you. It's not really a very in-depth guide into it, but it's a pretty decent book for introducing it. And then I just went and researched it myself and practiced a lot with it and looked at the uh, a lot of people make jokes about this, by the way, because um, A lot of people make jokes about this because, and I'm one of those people, because this is super long. This is a huge book. Well, it's not really a book. It's a collection of 4 volumes. It's huge. It has over 5,000 pages, 5,052. However, this is a really good place to start, especially the first volume. The part where they explain how things work. This is really good. Um, Now, of course, a lot of you're not going to read all of this. You're never going to read all of this. You're better suited going with the volume 1 first. Um, and this is already pretty good. It's basically this. Like, you can just get this and just read volume 1, right? Um, it's pretty long, but this will give you a pretty good introduction and pretty in-depth explanation of some things. This is basically where I got a lot of practice with after those 2 books. I'm doing Hacking the Art of Exploitation. I need a bit of help. Yes, 2008. Yeah. 2008? 2008? Oh, you mean the second edition? You must mean the second edition, because the first edition I got before that, for sure. Yeah, there we go. When was this? 2004, I think. Uh, it, you can definitely check that out, but yeah. But that book is really cool. I did get into C before this book, but which is a bit weird because this book has a lot of introductory things as well. But I don't know. It's a really good transition book in my opinion. It's a really good transition book from knowing a bit of C into getting interested into assembly and security. But the 2008 is free now. Oh, really? I did not know that. Oh well. Fair enough. I still remember this. There was supposed to be a chapter of getting your hands dirty somewhere here. That does not exist. Maybe I'm thinking of a different book. I do remember a lot of these titles. Sadly, okay, this does seem a bit different. But it looks like it does like cover a lot of things, which is pretty good. Even if it doesn't cover it into the depth that a lot of the you might need if you're trying to go all out with reverse engineering, it does introduce a lot of different things and a lot of the basic ways in which you can do things um, and use debuggers and stuff like that. So I think this is a pretty amazing book still, even today. And I think it's an amazing like transition from knowing C to yeah. It's definitely hard. I would recommend knowing C first. To be honest, I would recommend knowing C first, so that you can just parse a lot of these things more easily. But yeah. Oh god. Yeah, it was definitely a tiny bit. Wait. Yeah, I remember this. Like, there's not that much that I remember verbatim, like book by book, but I remember these. These were pretty funny. I don't know. I remember it being funny when I read it, but I was pretty young, so who knows. But yeah, for C, I recommend the C programming language. Although I must say, this book is written in a very. You will definitely realize this when if you read it. It's written in a very old style because it's a very old book, and a lot of things seem like it's written in a very formal way, and some people don't like the style, but in terms of its content, it's the Bible. There are some other books. There's Learn C the Hard Way. Um, I haven't actually read this yet. I noticed that this existed because there's a book that I recommend for Python, which is Learn Python 3 the Hard Way. But I've actually seen a lot of bad reviews from this book. A lot of people say that they oversimplify things to the point where it's flat out wrong, and you never get corrected. But I don't know, just what I've read about it. Oh well. But damn, wait, do you? Oh, that one is a good one actually. Okay, I think that one is a good one. I'm not sure. Um, I recognize the head first C title. I don't recognize the image, but it could just be a different image. Um, like the thing is, I don't remember the books, but if I see the name, uh, I will recognize them. C blah blah. This is really good for C++, by the way. Yeah, this one is good, but it's eh. This one is pretty decent. Um, this one is really dumb. Dumb. Modern C, blah blah. Don't know these. Don't know that. I recognize these books. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. It could be, yeah. It could be. I'm not sure if this is the one I remember anymore. But if it is, I think it is good. I think it is good. But of course, you have the Bible, right? Nothing beats the Bible. I'm sorry. But honestly, what I would recommend is trying to find if there is a free version of the other one. Because honestly, the C programming language, this one, is actually so old that it should be free somewhere. It should be free somewhere. I don't want to try to search if it's free because I might get directed into some torrenting websites, and Twitch might not like that. But um, it should be like legally free somewhere. But if you start reading it and if you realize that, okay, maybe this is not the style that I'm comfortable with, maybe I'm comfortable with something, a bit more, maybe a bit more direct and a bit more simplified in terms of its writing, you could try out this one. From what I think I know, I think it's good. Also, Griffiths. Wait. No, 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 no. Really? Griffiths? Huh. It's Griffith. Wait, is it the same guy? It can't be the same guy. Is it the same guy? I recognize this because this is a pretty because there's someone called David Griffiths, which is a pretty good author for a quantum mechanics book that I read a while back. It was part of the curriculum. Um, no, it's not the same. It's not the same guy. It cannot be the same guy. Okay, it doesn't seem like it's the same guy, honestly. Just has the same name. I don't know. Oh, I know where to get them. That's awesome. By the way, I cannot believe you still remember me from when I used to play with Fetzer and stuff. That is so cool. That is pretty cool. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Oh, I need to get back into. I still play Hearthstone, by the way. I still play it. It's just I just don't play it at a professional level anymore. But I kind of want to check who's on. Oh, he's online. This is good. Okay. Okay, guys. Yeah, I still do. Okay, guys, I do have to go, so I will say goodbye. Um, Thank you so much for watching, though. I really appreciate it, and hopefully next week there's more. Honestly, I might only be able to post the module tomorrow because it's actually pretty late already. Since I switched to Linux, I haven't played any more games except CS. That's a shame. Should play Hearthstone again. Battlegrounds are pretty cool right now. There's Duel, which I actually kind of hate because I need to build a deck for it. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and see you tomorrow. Or I'll see you next week. Have fun. No problem, man. Peace. Happy hacking. Happy hacking, guys. Happy hacking. And of course I need to log in because I'm an idiot. Oh my god, I already logged in, idiot. Yeah, not jacking, hacking. Jacking too, perhaps, but... Okay, I just butchered it. I'm gonna go now. Goodbye, guys. Oops.